Welcome back. You are listening to the Labor Forum here on WRFG 89.3 FM with Diane Mathewitz and Paul McLennan, the co-hosts of this program, and our guest for the last half hour is Greg Fann. Oh, Greg has so many possible ways to describe him. I don't even know how many years we have been seeing each other at a variety of things. Greg has been on this program before. And we spoke at a press conference that was held last week of a whole bunch of community organizations, again, talking about the ramifications of this ballot initiative that, again, Governor Deal has put forward, which is called Opportunity School District. And we've had so many programs to make sure that our listeners, and hopefully you are spreading the word, about what's really part of this legislation and the way that the governor can appoint somebody who becomes the superintendent without any other oversight from anybody else to take over schools throughout the state of Georgia. So, hey Greg.
Hey Diane, how you doing, Diane? We're not at a rally, Diane. How you doing?
Thanks for showing up today. All right, this is, like we keep trying to take a little bite of this issue from different angles. And we specifically are now wanting to, if you can, talk a little bit, well first I guess we need to describe OSD in case there's anybody who still doesn't know what it means.
Y'all keep calling it OSD, I call it opportunity rip-off. It's a rip-off. It's just a rip-off, y'all. It's a rip-off.
Okay, so here's what the wording on the ballot will be totally like you'd say, oh, jump up and down, this is a good thing because it's all about helping schools. The deal essentially is, and it's kind of long and complicated, very frankly, is the governor will have, any governor will have the ability to hire a person who's called the superintendent of the OSD. That person, through a variety of so-called mechanisms that it's not very clear, will be able to determine a number of schools each year that will come under that superintendent's power. That person will be able to fire all the teachers, fire the administrators, close the school, turn the school over to a private company, change the curriculum. I don't know, there's more. And
it's much more than that, Diane, much more. I think when people hear it, they don't understand. When you start peeling back the onion, you'll find that there are a lot of things that will be happening that will hurt not only the children, not only the parents, but our whole economy. I just heard your previous interview, the governor give it, but then the governor take it away. And with this opportunity to rip off, I call the school district, it's certainly one that is a takeaway. And as we see it, we look at it from, and I believe you talked about it earlier, Paul, you talked about the young lady that was the slave who then gave information. This takes us back to the Pyramids period when black people were freed from slavery. And then for some reason or another, they came up with how do we keep them, keep this free labor? This is a labor form. So how do we keep this free labor and keep people working on our plantations and working in our coal mines? Well, we come up with bogus charges and we put them in jail and let them stay in jail for years and work for free and end up paying to stay in jail. Well, we have a penal system now that is doing the very same thing, that's putting people in jail and making people to stay in jail and having larger sentences for crimes that should be maybe be probation or maybe not a long period of time. But if you're in jail and you're paying for your own room and board, somebody's making money. We're creating more private prisons. So we're going back to the Pyramids period. Well, we look at our young people, look at the educational system as it is now. They say it's failing. Well, it's failing if you don't put the resources in it. You cut the budget in terms of funding education. So quite naturally, you're going to have problems. You don't spend the money, you're going to get what you pay for. So you set up the school system to fail. And basically, and I just have to call it like it in my community, in the black community, because most of the schools that are being taken over are black schools. And there are kids that are failing, but you don't put the resources. They don't get computers, they don't get laptops, they don't get quality teachers, and then you teach to the test.
toilet leak and
Roof
mold
leak.
in the classroom.
Absolutely,
No
absolutely.
air conditioning.
Absolutely. My high school, I graduated from Washington High School, which is a well-known school, and many of us have graduated from Washington High. We call it Washington High. But then when I heard molds in the school and what have you, well, you don't put resources in that school, you don't put resources in that building, and you're not really interested in educating kids. And I just have to be very frank. When you have a governor who says to us, I want to educate your children. I want to help you educate your children. But this is the same governor said, I don't want to deal with Medicaid expansion. I don't want to take the money to help you with your health, but I do want to educate your children. Isn't that ludicrous? I mean, you don't want to take care of my physical health, but you want to educate my mind. I don't buy that, Diane. So I think it's a song and dance that he giveth, yet he taketh away. And to give any governor that authority is really ludicrous. And the last point that I want to make before I know you want to ask me a question, but the last point that I do want to make, why do we want to elect the superintendent that we elect on the local level and the state level, Board of Education people, superintendent, and then get a governor the authority to hire somebody who's going to do his bidding that we have no control over, can't say anything to about the school system. And if the school system that they take over begin to fail, then what happens? Because now you've given him the constitutional right to do that. See, that's the point that we got to make. It's the constitutional right. People think it's a bill, but it's a constitutional right that you would give the governor, that any governor will have for now on until the Constitution is changed. It is hard to get the Constitution changed. So I said we cannot do it. It's not going to help our kids. It's not going to help educate our kids. It's not going to do anything but put more kids in the penal system. And that's my story. And that's why. And it's opportunity to rip off.
Paul.
The issue of when we look at these kinds of questions like privatization,
Mm-hmm.
I look at who's most affected by that decision and who benefits. And could you talk? Well, you started to say about the schools that are going to be targeted.
Right.
So who is going to be most affected?
Well, listen, we talk about the teachers, but there are bus drivers, there are cafeteria workers. There are people who do business with the school system that will be affected, because if you're not my buddy, you're not in my pocket, you don't get my contract. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the real. So you're talking about a rippling factor in terms of long-term jobs and taking people's tenure and their seniority and those rights away from people that they've long for. All employees good? No, I won't say all employees are good, but there are good employees that you make bad employees. And it looks like the Republicans, and I have said because the Republicans say we want less government, but yet now we want more local control. Why would the state want to take over local schools when the state says they don't want federal government in their business, but yet they want to get in local business? Isn't that a little ludicrous? I mean, somebody's backward here, somebody's twisted. So we just need to understand what the real deal is. It's about getting the money, Paul. It's about getting the money, putting the money in my pocket so I can put the money in whose pocket I want to put it in. Let's call it what it is. It's a ripoff.
So who benefits is going to be for-profit companies that provide education.
Absolutely, it's going to be totally for-profit company because you're my buddy, Paul. Paul, I got 5 schools I'm taking over. So, Paul, I want to give these schools to you. And, Paul, I'm going to guarantee you, Paul, you're going to make at least $30 million over the next X amount of years. So, Paul, you good for the next 30 years. You know you're good because I'm your friend, you're my friend, and I'm going to hook you up. You got to hook up, Paul, and then you hook up who you want to hook up, and then they hook up who they want to hook up, and then the rest of us is unhooked.
Well, I think the main thing about this is that there's nothing in the legislation that talks about increasing money for teachers, for buildings, for textbooks, for computers, for technology, or the wraparound services. I mean, when we are talking, we've had so many of the teachers on who talk about how they are so inundated by the fact they gotta prepare children for tests, and the children in their rooms can be hungry. The children in their rooms could have been sleeping in a car. The children in their rooms could be taking care of their brothers and sisters because their mother works 2 jobs. Mm-hmm. All these kinds of things that impact the ability of kids to learn. None of that is involved in this takeover, whether it's the APS system that also has a so-called turnaround plan, which we've talked about, or this statewide program.
But
But
Diane, look,
let me just
go
ask one more
Go ask
question.
one more question. I got to say something. I got
How
to say something.
insidious is it to put the wording that they did for the ballot?
Ooh.
Okay, now
Well, you know how insidious that is. I gotta tell a lie. I gotta make it sound good. I gotta make it sound good because if I make it sound good, you'll buy it because it sounds good. But then, like going into a restaurant and they got this beautiful picture and they look so good and the food looks so good, and you go in there and you say, "Oh man, that's gonna be good." And then when you get the meal, you're like, "Wow, why did I come in here?" And that's what happened if this thing passed. People are like, "Wow, what did we do?" I mean, the reality of it is, it is an effort to get more money. The rich get richer, the poor get poor. You talked about something just then that was very important, and thank you for bringing it up. How many teachers have gone in their personal pockets and have spent their own monies because the school system didn't have the money? The governor cut the budget. Let's call it like it is.
$7 billion.
Purdue cut the budget. Now he's coming in cutting the budget, so the teachers haven't had money. School system haven't had money for the longest. And if you look at the schools where the money was cut, I guarantee you follow the money, you follow the school, you'll see the schools that are now being targeted are the schools, but their budgets have been cut. So let's call it what it is. It is what it is. It's all about getting the money. It's not about education. Because though there are teachers in the school system who love teaching, want to teach, want to help educate our kids, but they can't do it because their hands are tied. On Saturday, we created a reading program and a writing program and a math program for our kids because we're going to make sure our kids know how to read. Because if kids don't know how to read, they're going to jail. That's just a fact. They don't know how to write, they're going to jail. They don't know how to do math, they're going to jail. So you set them up for failure. You set this system up. They set this system up for failure. So now they want to say we're going to straighten it out, but they don't say how they're going to straighten it out, but we're going to straighten it out. Just trust me. Just trust me. Just trust me. We're going to straighten it out. Yeah, I trust you all right. You give it and you take it away. You said it was going to be a real thing.
I want to ask because this strikes me when I look at it from a historical perspective, how Paul started out too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was a crime to teach a slave to read.
Mm-hmm.
I believe there was actually a death penalty connected to it. Then we go after the Civil War, and into a period of the rise of the Ku Klux Klan and the terror, Jim Crow segregation, the segregated schools. People can look at these pictures of the kind of so-called public schools that black children got during the whole early 1900s. You have this incredible fight after Brown versus the Board of Education, where public schools in Georgia and other parts of the South closed rather than integrate. So now we come, then you have a recession, and you have the emergence of black elected officials
Mm-hmm.
and some power, the right to vote, etc., the whole civil rights struggle. And so how did those who still hold to the views of white supremacy push back, to me, is through the fact that they deny black youth opportunity in school, because that then denies opportunity for jobs, and as you said, is the school to prison pipeline. So I'm not a conspiracy person. I think this is all very factual.
It's factual. It's very factual. I mean, I would say to your listeners, go out and you can go to YouTube. Go to YouTube and look at 12 Years a Slave. Look at that documentary, not the movie trial, but look at the documentary called 12 Years a Slave. If you see that documentary and begin to look at that documentary, you can see the same thing happening now that happened right after slaves were freed. You will see the same thing is happening all over again. History repeats itself. If you don't learn from your history, you're bound to repeat it. And this is what we're heading, because we are not concerned, again, when I say we, those who are in the power to be, the rich people want to get richer on the backs of poor people, just like they did when black people were freed in slavery. They wanted to continue to be wealthy. That's why they put them in jail. That's why they put them in jail today, because they want free, cheap labor. They're tired of you unions running around here talking about minimum wage, $15 an hour. They're tired of you unions talking about decent wages, good working conditions, benefit. They tired. You probably aware that they want to change the laws that relate to overtime for certain people who make certain amount of money. You got to do 50 or 60 hours before you do overtime. And I mean that with one stroke of the pen, with one majority vote, if it's 50, 100 people, if 51 vote, then that's not the law. People need to understand changing, and it's all about the rich getting richer, more money going in their pocket. They don't like unions because unions protect the rights of individuals. And I want to say to anyone listening, Diane, I want to do this for you and your program here. We're going to make a donation from our organization of $200 to pledge for this program, so this program can continue to stay on the air, so the message can continue to get out. And I'm asking everyone that listens, you listen to the program, you pledge something. You can give $10, $50, $100. Some of y'all can give $1,000, but give some money to help this program stay on the air, because it's standing up fighting for working families and people all over this country. So, Diane, I want to applaud you for the work you do. And Paul, you too, because it's very important to get the message out to the people. And the Bible said, people perish because of a lack of knowledge, because they don't have knowledge. And you guys give them knowledge, and you guys give them information every month. And I want to thank you for the opportunity of having this forum. I got that check to get to you. $200, I said $200. I might take up an offer and get 3. But you do the same thing. Now, tell me, how can they get you? How do they donate to your program? How do they do it?
There's a lot of ways. You can call in at 404-523-8989 anytime, 24 hours a day, and donate to WRFG. If you specifically want to donate to the Labor Forum, you can go online at wrfg.org, and you'll see, hit the donate button, and you'll see a whole list of the programs. If you want to specifically kind of give the money in appreciation for a program here on WRFG, you can send a check. 1083 Austin Avenue, Northeast, 30307. You can walk in.
Walk in?
You can walk in and give your money, whether it's pennies or dollars or a check or a money order. And I think those are all the ways you can donate. You can come to our fundraisers, like the Peach Blossom this coming weekend, Saturday. WFG is reliant on our listeners. We don't have corporate funding to make us get wishy-washy over the issues that are important to people.
Absolutely.
All right, so I can't remember. Did you answer the question, or did we?
I answered about 3, 4 questions. You got 4, 5, 1. Come on, Paul. What you got for me, Paul?
Okay, here's my.
Bring on, Paul.
Okay, here we go.
Here we got.
So the public sector.
Public sector
is designed to provide for the needs of people.
Absolutely.
And we're talking
non-for-profit.
Non-for-profit.
Absolutely.
So this for-profit model has no business being in the area that's not designed. Nobody says, how much money did the fire department make last year? Nobody says, if you want to read a book, go out and buy one. Mm-hmm. No, we have a library, so you don't have to do that.
Correct.
So what is this for-profit thing? I mean, I know in transit, it started with Reagan back in the 80s, mm-hmm. where he said, okay, we're going to send federal money, and if you want, you can take that money and give it to a private contractor. Mm-hmm. But
that's why they love Reagan.
We went off track
mm-hmm.
when we start, as a society, when we start saying that the needs of people are going to be designed to help somebody make money. That just doesn't make sense.
Well, Paul, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Government was never designed for people to make a profit. It's not. It's taxpayers' dollars. See, what they want to do is assess what they know is guaranteed money. Because you're going to pay your property taxes, and of course, if you buy something from a store, you're going to pay taxes. So, I mean, it's guaranteed money. So if you can get guaranteed money, get your hands on guaranteed money, then you get wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. So, Paul, this whole thing, and this is what I want to say to your listeners, and I want you to spread the word. We always talk about, well, it ain't me they messing with, it's somebody else they messing with. Well, you next. When they started this whole thing talking about government workers, they make too much money, they too this and too that, that we want to start privatizing, we can get better service and privatizing. Well, Atlanta is a prime example of what they did when they privatized the water. They turned back and had to take it all back over again, because you cannot privatize what is public. Because if you put it under contract, if it's not in the contract, if they have to do it, then they're going to come back and charge you for what's not in the contract. So people have to understand it. And then people who work jobs that are private sector jobs, that are contract jobs, the contractor is making all the money. He's making 100 or 200% profit, and he's giving peanut to the people that's providing the service and doing the labor. So you got to understand this whole school thing. Miss Jones teaching me this month, but Miss Smith is next month, and then there's another gentleman in here teaching my child next month, and then there's somebody, my child done had 5 teachers before the end of the year. So how the world my child gonna learn? How can that my child be back with this whole thing of taking over school system and putting a superintendent in there who is hired by the governor to set up a school system will fail? Because if I'm not making the money, and I'm gonna quit. Because I don't want to be bothered with your bad children anyway. So I'm going to quit. So, because I'm just here for the money anyhow. So I'm going to quit. Then next week, now you got another teacher. Next month, then you got another teacher. But it's 10 of school years again. It's 5 different teachers. What has your child learned in 1 year with 5 different personalities? Won't do it. This is bad. This is all about making money. It's all about making money. It is a ripoff. It is a ripoff. And that's what you need to call it. It's opportunity rip-off.
So in terms of teachers in the community, can you say a little about how important they are as a stable workforce?
Well, sure. What you talking about? If Richard was still in business, Richard would tell you. I mean, some of those businesses that do it do well is because of teachers, because they make the money and they can patronize their business because they make a decent wage. Teachers are important not just from an economic standpoint, but they're important in terms of stabilizing our community from a moral standpoint too. Because our teachers, kids, well, we used to really respect our teacher, but when you got a different teacher every month, how do you learn to respect? But our teachers, we respect. I had a principal at Yard Call Elementary. She was closed. Her name was Miss Furlow. And some people may be listening, maybe remember Miss Furlow. Miss Furlow loved us, but she did what she needed to do to keep us in line. And that's what we need. We need teachers who love us, who care for us, who want us to be productive citizens in society, and don't mind calling your mama and your dad and telling them when you cutting up. And mamas and daddies who are listening, support the teachers, will you? All teachers are not bad. All teachers are not trying to do something to your children. They're trying to help educate your children. So I support teachers. I think teachers are important. I would not be here today if it wasn't for a teacher. You would not be here today. None of us would be here today if it wasn't for a teacher. And everybody had a favorite teacher. My favorite teacher was my band director. His name was Bobby Jordan. Thank you, Mr. Jordan.
Okay, so how are we going to stop this? What is the strategy?
This is my strategy. I'm glad you asked that question. This is my strategy. If every church, if not every church, if all churches would do like we're doing at Liberty International, that's why our church is, Liberty International, 1362 Metropolitan Parkway. Every Saturday, we have, like I said earlier, a tutorial program. See, we don't have to depend on the school system totally, because the teachers are there to teach, but we got to have a support mechanism in the community. If every church would take upon themselves to set up a tutorial program, or as many will, on Saturday, to do reading, to do math, to do writing. We don't only do reading, math, and writing, but we also teach them how to do web design. We also teach them how to repair computers. We teach them how to do documentaries. We teach them those kinds of things that they are interested in doing too. We teach them those things, but before you get to that, you got to learn how to read. You got to learn how to do math. And then we'll take you to that. And we have the young lady from Spelman College, and I want to give a shout out to the ladies of Spelman College. They help every Saturday to volunteer with the tutorial program, and the men of intelligence from the South Fulton area, they help every Saturday. They help with the tutorial program. This past week we had 17 kids. When we started off, we had 3 kids. Now we got 17 kids. If my little church that only seats 125 people. If we can do it, then other churches can do it. We can get it. We got to get involved. If we want to solve this, we got to do something. We can turn it around because we just got to put our hands to the plow and go to work and understand that we have the resources to do it. We have educators in our church. We have college students in our church that can help us to help our young people learn how to read, write, and do math. That's my strategy.
And also just to say, because as I started at the beginning, Greg and I were at a press conference earlier this week that had a whole variety, everything from the League of Women Voters, all different kinds of groups, who are alarmed at the prospect of what this ballot initiative that's going to be on the ballot this November, called the Opportunity School District. That's what it's called.
Rip off.
That's in parentheses.
And the fact that the wording is very duplicitous, and it really requires people to take a very good look to see what the legislation really does and how it will essentially take away any kind of control of parents, teachers, and the community over their local schools once they're taken over. So Greg, I want to thank you so much for coming and enlivening our program and for the $200 check.
You gonna get the $200 check, and I'm saying the rest of y'all send some money to this station. This station is much needed. Please, please, please. I'm serious when I say this. They need the financial help. They need the financial support. Let's help keep them on the air. Let's get the checks. Let's keep it flowing. I'm looking right here, Diane. You can do pledges right here. $120, $10 a month, $250, $220, $83, $20.83 a month, 365. It's 365 days a year. That's only $30.42 a month. $500. That's $41.66 a month. $1,000. That's the one that you can get at $1,000. They get at $1,000. Give them $83.33 a month. Let's keep this program on the air. Charlie.
Thank you. All right, so a big round of applause for Greg Fann here today representing CBTU, which is a very worthwhile organization which we love as well. So thanks again. We've had a great show with you.
Hey, you know,
And
it's
we
always
look
a
forward
ball.
to it, having you back again. And so we'll be back next Monday, and that is the first Monday of the pledge drive here at WRFG. So please do pay attention to what Greg Fann urged you to do. Bye-bye for now.